Whoa. Hey, it's been a little bit since I've picked up the camera anyway, at least the last time I have, and that's kind of my fault. I'm sorry for that, but there's really just been, we really haven't done even really enough to even make a video, and if I did film anything we've done, we would have been backtracking for like 3 weeks. Today is going to be it's going to be a little bit of a shorter day. The first thing we got to do is we got to get the cultivator out so we can get the that wagon. Because you remember last video, we had to put what was left in the harvest store, the last beans in that harvest store, into that wagon and haul them to our local elevator. So we got that all done. Now, well, we just pulled it in and took the tractor around. So that's just been sitting there for a little while. So we want to park that back to where it was, and then get the cultivator out, take it to our field right across the road. We call it the across the road field because it's, well, across the road, and set the depth. I don't know how this is gonna work out or not, but so stay tuned. But last video when we went to go park it, that scene, yeah, I nudged it. I nudged it when I went to go park it in that one scene. Yeah, they really like that four-wheeler. Try not to hit that. Thought we were gonna hit it right there. Well, now the plan is we're gonna, now up next we actually just ended up rolling that wagon back into where it is, because if you're gonna try to do it with the four-wheeler, it's gonna be a pain. But we're gonna take this tractor across the road, get the cultivator set, and go over the places that we need to. Unfolding up there, yeah, the camera kind of picks it up. You can see it's a little bit of a lighter colored strip on this section of the field. That's a spot where, so the darker sections is where I ripped last fall, and I left a little section so Dad came by with the VT and VT'd the part that I didn't do, and so we're just trying to experiment to see if the ripped area is better than the VT area or the opposite. Well, we went, I don't know, 200 feet maybe or something, just enough to get a little test run. So we're just gonna look and see how deep we're going, if we're going too deep, or we're going too shallow. If we're going too shallow, that means we are not taking out any of these. And if we're going too deep, then usually we'll get clumps about this big pretty much everywhere. Now this is pretty good ground conditions because it just rained a little bit last Friday. It's Sunday now. We didn't do anything yesterday, so that does help a lot. But also that was about 6.5. Usually we work around 7 to 7.5. So the ground speed factor also also does play a little bit of a role in this as well. You know, I've never done field cultivating in March before. I've done BTing in February. I've never done cultivating in March before. Cultivator should be level anyway, which is not like the BT where it's got a hydraulic to change the levelness of it. Instead, it just depends on how many little plastic donut spacers that we have sit in the hitch. And if I remind myself, I'll show you guys what those look like later when we're done. We're working over those dry dams that I was talking about earlier on the video, where Dad was building them up last fall after all the harvest was done. We were just doing the tillage, and so we're going over these at just a straight on heading. We're not doing an angle or anything, because if we were doing an angle on it, then it would just pretty much level off the whole dry dam, and there would be no point for it. It's pretty good ground conditions though, isn't it?
Really good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Can't get any better than this.
It's not doing a terrible job. I've definitely seen this do way worse, so it's doing a good job. It's good ground conditions. I don't know if we'll be doing field work today, but maybe later this week. I don't know. We'll see. Well, that didn't take very long. Did what we said we were going to do. We didn't get carried away, which is, now that I think about it, that's somewhat surprising. But we believe that the depth is all set right on the cultivator. It was hard not to get carried away because the ground conditions were so good, and that field, I mean, there's really no wet spots in that field. Oh well. Our plan is, and whenever it gets dry enough again, we will be heading back out, and we'll be working our corn stalks first, because we usually like planting our corn stalks first. Well, we got the seed meters on the planter. I'll put back on the box just the way they were. Again, it was just simple 2 bolts and screw the nuts back on, and then they were back on. But the guy who did them put the corn plates on first, and like I said before, we don't do corn first, and we do beans first, because we usually just combine those first. So we're just swapping out the plates on these. So here's a corn plate. You can see it's got these holes here. I'm not too sure exactly why there's these little tiny holes in there, but each of these holes supports a seed. So that's what grabs the seed out of the seed boxes. And so usually corn is planted around 35,000 seeds per acre. So it's a much lower population than soybeans. Soybeans about 120 to 140,000 seeds per acre. And so this is a corn plate, you can see here, and then look at it compared to a bean plate. So there's, instead of just one center ring, there's 3 of them, and each of these holes supports a bean. And also, I believe it turns a little bit faster, but it's also got 3 rows of holes. There's almost twice as many holes per, especially this outer ring is about twice as many holes in this ring than this one, especially also just because the bean is so much smaller. So that's the main difference between a corn plate and a bean plate. Really the only thing you gotta look for is the amount of holes that are in it. Since these are precision meters, it's a little bit different. I'm not too sure how the original stock 1760 meters are. Like I said in the last video, these are precision E-set, so they're not the standard OEM John Deere. Adjust this brush right here. So you move that either at an angle, or you move that to an angle, or you move that straight. And then what you do is you see this little knob right here. Take that and line it up with the plate, and then when you do that, you just screw this onto there until there's little grooves in here where it snaps. And it snaps in. And there you have your perfectly good bean plate. What are you doing?
Spraying graphite spray on these, so it makes a nice slick edge for the seal to run against in there. Usually I have that done after season. Didn't get that done last year.
Currently sitting in the planter tractor trying to find the what to set the sprockets. I'm trying to figure out the right population for that to be set, because even though Dad's been doing it for over 10 years now, we still can't remember it. There's a lot of things to remember, and you can't, I mean, there's a lot of different variables for different populations, so it's okay. Looking. Well, actually, it turns out that all that sprocket system to change the population, that was already set right, so we don't have to do anything with that, which is saves us a little more time, and we're in pretty big favor of that. Drive tire, so how it works is, so when you lower the planter, these tires come up, and then when these tires come up, these tires hit and come in contact with that drive tire, and that's what starts turning everything, and that's what makes the seeds start flowing through again and go down to the ground. So last year we inflated it. We inflated that tire, and that made a very, very positive difference on like our population accuracy where everything should have been. So we got the corn plates out of here. So now we gotta start putting those bean plates on. I'll show you what that graphite stuff looks like a little bit better when it's drier. I think if you rub hard enough, you can feel it start getting up on your fingertips and stuff like that. It literally just looks like paint. But all that does is just make it a little bit smoother to just keep going around and around. It's also smoother for the seeds, that the seeds also have graphite on, because we put graphite on our seed too. So it should just go right through there like butter. Well, that wasn't all too bad. We got the corn plates out and put the bean meters in, and then hook the vacuum hoses back up to them and put them back on. Now I just gotta hook up the electrical to it, and I think it should be field ready, isn't that right?
I believe so. 7 pins for lights. This is for the half-width disconnect. Shut 6 rows off, left or right, whichever you need if you need to. And that is for the monitor.
Well, we're gonna open up these doors so we can get the planter out and start working on not those 2 wagons. There's one back behind the tractor that you can't see. We're gonna try to get the extension off of that wagon, and I will explain why before we start, but I'm not gonna explain it yet. Last weekend, one of the things we did do is we actually washed this planter. I don't know if you can tell, but there's no more oil stain, unlike there was in the last video. You see that? Maybe I'll zoom in on it a little bit, but there's no more oil stain. And then we also rinsed off this tractor too. We did use soap and water for that one, because this tractor's too nice to not do that. It's got good white paint, so just gonna back up out of the way instead of turn around and pull forward, because, well, I don't know, but Well, we got the planter moved. Dad's grabbing the box for him to stand in while we take off this extension. So the silver part so the top of the wagon, that's the extension part that we're trying to take off, because we're not going to be using this really for grain anymore. We're going to be using this for seed. If you can't tell by the auger, it's just a hydraulic powered auger that we plug into a hydraulic outlet on the planter, and that's what we use to what we usually used to pump out all of our seed for soybeans. Now we're going to be using it for beans and corn, and just clean it out really good once we're done with soybeans, and then start putting corn in it. That's going to be the plan. We're going to get this pulled over into the shop area and start trying to take this extension off. It's just a few bolts, and so it really shouldn't be that hard to be able to do. And see, this is where I feel like the magic of editing is going to come into play, because this is going to make a hour or two long project look about like a 5-minute project. We just got to pretty much just unbolt all those, and then just pretty much just try to lift it up off and set it down. You know, I always thought when we always clean out this wagon from going from putting grain in it to putting seed in it during the fall, kind of always thought we cleaned it a little bit better than this, but that grain came off of the top of the tarp. You can see a little bit of mold up there even. I guess I never really thought of there being grain sandwiched up in there. Well, we got the wagon quite a bit shorter than what it was when you guys last saw it, and now we're trying to get the tarp back onto it like the way it was before we put the extensions on it. I don't know how many years ago. Dad just took off this piece that bolts onto the top edge of there, so when you go to roll the tarp back up, it rolls over this piece, and then you keep rolling it, it tucks up under here. Well, it's getting later in the day. It's probably around, I don't know, probably 7 o'clock now. I haven't looked at the time yet, but that project is not done, and it might not be actually done for a couple of days. I'll probably make a separate video on that, and maybe part of that video will also be field work too. Sunday night, and just gonna have a nice little meal and call it quits. So I gotta pull this tractor back in and then pull the planter in, and that'll be it. So I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys.